Good afternoon, Trinidad and Tobago. I'm Marie-Therese Bernard with the news to 12. In the headlines, government delegation to visit the U.S. next week to get $6.7 billion in bonds. Fishermen and friends claim of cover-up by the EMA and IMA, and in sport, TNT golfer wins World Junior title. Minister of Finance Colm Imbert will lead a delegation to the United States next week on a roadshow to pursue the issuance of an international bond of up to $1 billion US. That's about 6.7 billion TT dollars. The money is required to offset government expenses. The delegation includes senior officials, advisors and technocrats from the Ministry of Finance and the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago. During the visit, the Minister of Finance and his delegation will meet with and make presentations to as many as 20 major banks, investors and financial institutions. It is expected that the bond will be priced on Thursday, July 28, 2016. The delegation will leave on the 25th of July. The group Fishermen and Friends of the Sea has questioned initial reports from the Emergency Management Authority and the Institute of Marine Affairs, which say the massive fish kill at the creek could be the result of people dumping the fish there. A joint news release from the EMA and the Institute of Marine Affairs said the fish bear markings consistent with fishing nets. However, Gary Aboud is not convinced that this is the case.
I am admitting, and it would be wrong not to admit, that sometimes a fisherman might not pull his net punctually within 5 hours after he puts it in the water, so that the catch in the net would begin to decompose, and he would have to dump that fish. But what we are seeing here is like the Queen's Park Savannah covered in fish. No single bed, not even if you had 25, not even if you had 50 boats dumping their catch, would it amount to the hundreds of thousands of pounds that we are seeing in the water.
Mr. Aboud said over the past 3 years, since the last Petrotrin oil spill, dead fish have been washing ashore daily. He said the IMA and EMA are not conducting their affairs with a proper scientific approach, as they're attempting to protect state-owned Petrotrin from paying compensation owed to stakeholders who are suffering.
These fish were dying from any of the possible natural or any of the possible unnatural causes that were not related to Petrotrin's use of core exits and other unknown chemicals in unknown quantities when they had their oil spill. If this were a natural event, then I ask you, how come it's only occurring in what Petrotrin designed as a red zone area?
Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley says the creation of a proper DNA lab can help the country to fight crime. Speaking with reporters on his return from Jamaica yesterday, Dr. Rowley said seeing such a lab at the Mona campus of the University of the West Indies and the impact it is having on that country, Trinidad and Tobago will be looking at having the same.
What it does, given what they have, is almost real-time responses to DNA matters. And you know how important that is in our crime fighting and security and other matters. And whereas in Trinidad and Tobago we've had tremendous delays in the court waiting for results and so on and so on, and I don't know until I see what we have here to compare it to what I've seen in Jamaica.
Dr. Rowley said the leading technology is needed if we are to deal with crime.
If that kind of technology is available in Trinidad, it can contribute to a number of areas where we now aren't doing as good as we can.
A 43-year-old Couva man was stabbed and killed at around 9 p.m. yesterday. Reports say Kurt Levro was driving his vehicle, which crashed into another car on Batu Avenue, Marabella. When bystanders checked, Levro was found slumped behind the steering wheel with multiple stab wounds about his head, face, neck and hands. Levro lived at Calcutta Extension in Couva. And families of members of the protective services killed in the line of duty should get the $1 million payment promised by the last administration very soon. This as the process is 99% completed. Minister Imbert said the laws allowing government to release the compensation to the families are being created by the Office of the Attorney General and should be completed by next week.
I expect within a week or so that the process will be completed and the rules and the guidelines for the disbursement of the $1 million will be finalized. It will go to the estate of the person, obviously. but it is how it is distributed after that.
Police have recovered over $3.1 million in marijuana in the Northern Division on Thursday. The officers seized and destroyed 3,000 fully grown marijuana trees at an undisclosed location with a street value of $3 million. No one was arrested for the marijuana find. Officers attached to the St. Joseph CID executed a search warrant at the residence of a man at Wharf Trace, Maracas, St. Joseph. During the search, they found and seized 9.1 kilograms of marijuana with a street value of over $136,000. No one was arrested in connection to the find. Residents of Emerald Gardens in Arima are unhappy about work being done by WASA to run a sewage system in the area. They claim the contractors have to dig 10 feet deep into their yards for the 10-inch PVC pipes to connect to the sewage line under the roadway.
Roads are in a serious state. There are water in the manholes. They are taking the water from the manholes to wash down the area. Right? So our situation is a serious one. Our property is being damaged. They promised a letter of indemnity before they started. To this day, we haven't gotten anything.
Miss Nelson showed a letter she received from the Environmental Management Authority after taking their concerns to them. The EMA in the letter revealed WASA failed to implement certain environmental measures and was given 1 week to rectify this. Another issue raised by the residents is the location of the treatment plant.
And there is a sewer treatment plant on Ralph Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. I say this all the time. Although the city of New York tried to cover it, we still get smells from it. And this is not no guarantee that this lift station is not going to smell.
And now it's time for sport with Nasira Mohammed. Good afternoon, Nasira.
Good afternoon. Virat Kohli has scored a double century for India against the West Indies. Just before lunch on the second morning of the first test match started almost in the same manner as the first day ended, with India in firm control. Virat Kohli continued his quest for his first test double 100 and he went on to lunch with 200 not out. With him at the crease is Ravichandran Ashwin on 64. India closed on 404 for 4 and the match continues after lunch in next hour. There, however, was a chance to remove Ashwin when he edged one behind to Shannon Gabriel, but keeper Shane Dowridge dropped him. And in CPL action, Darren Sammy smashed 59 of 35 balls last night to lead the St. Lucia Zooks to a 35-run victory and knock the St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots out of contention for the CPL title. Sammy played in the first match at the National Cricket Stadium, which bears his name, coming in at the fall of Mike Hussey for a precarious 83 for 4 and halfway into the 12th over. Sammy ensured his side ended with a competitive 174. That total began to look bigger when the Patriots openers Lendell Simmons and Evan Lewis fell prey within the power play. At the captain with the chase, J.J. Smuts on 30 and Captain Faf du Plessis 48 counter-punched, but the scorecard pressure was just too much for the visitors. They lost the last 5 wickets for 13 runs and ultimately fell short by 35. And that's it for sports. Back to Marie Therese.
Well, thanks a lot, Nasira, for some sport news there. Liam Bryden, competing in the World Stars of Junior Golf, won the boys 17 to 18 age group by 2 strokes shooting rounds of 69.73 and 69 for a total of 211 in Las Vegas. Competing with top juniors from all over the world, Bryden, in a very hot temperatures, held his nerve to complete the biggest win of his career. However, 5 of the Trinidad and Tobago juniors who were also competing were unable to come to terms with the course and conditions and did not play as well. Karina Matabadal shot a total of 255 in the girls 15 to 16 age group to finish in the 25th position. Her brother Brandon Matabal in the boys 15 to 16 age group said a total of 270 to finish in 30th position, beating his compatriot Zach Correa, who shot a total of 286 to finish in the 32nd position. Zoe Correa, who competed in the 13 to 14 girls, finished 17th with a total of 260, while her younger brother Zico played in the 11 to 12 age group, finished in a tie for a 4th position with a total of 243. And now it's time for a look at the weather with Ian Wallace.
Rainfall for July is going to plan. The rain gauge at Piarco is currently at 200 millimeters. The average is 251 millimeters, and there's yet another week left to run. Today, though, a band of cloud may drift across from Tobago into Trinidad, bringing a scattering of showers across the hills and the possibility of an odd downpour at times during the heat of the afternoon. Otherwise, there will be a veil of Saharan dust following that cloud, leading to a humid day, 31 degrees Celsius in Tobago and 33 degrees Celsius in Trinidad. For mariners heading out, look for easterly winds of 50 knots with a moderate chop of 1.5 to 2 meters offshore and northeasterly swells of 9 seconds. Tide is low at 12:30 p.m., then high at 6:30 p.m. That is the latest weather, and I am meteorologist Ian Wallace.
Well, thanks a lot, Ian. C News, powered by our team of journalists and producers across the Republic and the region on television, radio and online. C News. Your news, your country, our job. Good afternoon.